I watched the driver take the long way, what we said between streetlights. I didn't get in the car to save my marriage. I got in because the city makes better decisions at 2 a.m. than we do. The rideshare lot behind the hotel was full of quiet arguments. Screens glowed in dashboards like patient judges. Drivers leaned on their hoods and pretended not to listen to the lobby's glass doors, learning too much too fast. I stood where an unlit sign said pickup and told myself I was being brave, not petty. Then the door opened and my wife and the operations lead walked out laughing like gravity had just told them a secret. Her name is Mara. We've been married 9 years, long enough to get excellent at logistics and a little too good at mercy. The man beside her was Theo. He has the kind of quiet you only earn by moving weight for other people after everyone else has gone home. He stands a respectful step away from women, and somehow that makes my neck listen harder. They were saying good night the way people do when good night has learned to be a word with edges. He saw me first. People who handle loadout learn to notice what rooms are about to drop. Theo lifted 2 fingers in a peaceable salute and said, "Evening, Grant," like he'd practiced his own name for court. Mara looked at me, and for a second the muscles at the corners of her mouth forgot what their job was. Then she smiled in the language we still speak when we're generous. "Do you want to ride with me?" she asked. "Or should I take the office route and let the lights decide what I mean?" "I ordered a car," I said. "You can cancel yours and we can argue in the back like citizens." Theo stepped back the respectful step. He didn't go away. He leaned against the column and watched the tide do the math it always pretends to forget. "I'm taking the van," he said. "There's a stranger's piano in it and 3 feet of truss. I'll meet you at the center at 9. If anybody needs me before that, call someone more interesting." He meant it as a favor. I wished it felt less like evidence. The driver pulled up slow, headlights doing that forgiving thing they learn from late shifts. He had a face built for quiet, and to his credit, he asked no theatrical questions. "West," he said. "The long way or the official one?" I didn't know he was going to give me the whole scandal as a multiple choice. "Long," I said. "We have a detour's worth to say." Mara slid in next to me and put her hand on my knee like a small, stubborn permission. The driver checked his mirror, turned into the river of decisions, and let the city's windows count our breath. The first 5 blocks are where most couples start pretending. We use them to learn how not to. "Did you kiss him?" I asked. It surprises me that this sentence doesn't break rooms when it arrives. It surprised the driver. He turned up the radio by 1 notch, which is what men with honor do when they realize they've been hired as priests. "In an elevator," she said, "2 weeks ago, between floors and good advice. I wanted to know if my neck could still vote. It can. I let it abstain." She looked out the window, not shy, not guilty, just unwilling to waste a mirror. Theo stepped back and said my name like it was a lock. "I wanted to hit him," I said to the dashboard's clock. "I wanted to hit you." I let it hang long enough to realize it wanted to be a lesser verb. "I wanted to be the one you stood too close to." "You used to be," she said. "You were the man with bad plans who made bad rooms feel like truth warmed up. We renovated. You started using punch lists on my skin." "I run a center," I said. "Somebody has to use punch lists." "Use them at work," she said. "Use your mouth on me." The driver coughed like an apology to the steering wheel. The city ran a red and then decided not to. Somewhere, a storefront slept with the lights on. Milo, his name tag said Milo, took a right that belonged to other people and made it ours. "You still could have told me," I said. "I'm telling you now," she said, "because I wanted you to show up before the elevator learned my name." The river slid next to us like a tired confession. We were three people in a moving box practicing decency and failure. I put my hand over hers on my knee the way a man does when he is deciding whether to be interesting or correct. The weight of it felt like a promise that hadn't lost the vote. "Invite me," I said, "when you are interesting, not just when you're frightened you'll be easier to love in other lighting." "I am inviting you," she said. "Now, in the worst possible room. Come sit next to me at 9 when I convince 12 volunteers to lift a stage that doesn't want to learn." "Invite me again at 2, I said, "when your neck forgets its job." At the light near the bridge, Milo looked at us in the mirror and said, "Do you want this to be the kind of ride where I take the scenic and you pretend you're not in a movie?" We said yes with our faces. He gave the river one more glance and the river made room. We took the long way, not because we believed in detours, but because we owed the night a little more context. "Do you want me to hit him?" I asked at South and Green, where the city forgets its manners. "No," she said. "I want you to be the man who would and then didn't." She leaned over and kissed me like she'd been authorized, and the radio blessed us by being loud enough to give us privacy without being arrogant about it. I kissed back like I'd risked being uninteresting for too long. Her mouth reminded me that heat isn't a speech. "I want to keep my clothes on," she said. "I want to keep my life. I want to touch you like I'm not filling out a form." We did the version of sex that lawyers can show juries and still get acquittals. My fingers found her wrist, daylight legal, and then the soft inside of her elbow that remembers who I was in apartments with bad flooring. Her hand slid to the back of my neck and pulled a memory forward until it confessed. Milo took an extra loop around the park and pretended to care about a construction sign that hadn't moved in weeks. Sometimes it's a blessing to be trapped by decency with a man whose craft is not hearing you well enough. "Do you still want to hit him?" she asked, forehead pressed to my cheek. "I want to thank him for stepping back," I said, "and I want to owe him nothing else." "That's a budget I can live with," she said. We pulled up outside our building the way cars do when they've been made complicit and asked not to be put in the report. I asked Milo to wait. He nodded like a good priest and looked out at the river like it had invited him. In the kitchen, we pushed the table an inch with our hips and kissed the way heat demands when weather has been overfunded. We kept our clothes because neighbors, and because our marriage doesn't need folklore to be recorded. We made to survive, not to show off. When we stopped, Sienna, Mara, I need to stop pretending other names protect me, put her head on my chest, and said the thing I didn't deserve. "Thank you for showing up," she said. "I didn't want to be found, I wanted to be chosen." "Choose me again," I said. "When your neck votes, when your calendar tries not to, when you stand at the loading dock at 10 and decide to be beautiful anyway." We paid Milo the tip you give a man who turned a ride into a sacrament and didn't gloat. He said, "Good luck at 9, like a man who knows gravity is waiting to be asked nicely. The center at 9 smelled like lemons and tape. Volunteers arrived because they believed in rooms more than days. Theo was there lifting tables like a man who had signed for heavier ideas. He saw me, and I saw him, and we nodded in the language of men not interested in auditions. Mara moved through the room with her mouth set to persuasive, and the day trusted her more than it trusted any of the rest of us. She brushed my wrist in passing, daylight legal, and the morning minded its manners. Loden is a therapy that doesn't require metaphors. We counted fixtures without pretense. We carried weight where weight wished to go. When a knot refused to admit it was line, Theo held it and I pulled, and Mara taught it the word please. Somewhere after noon, when a volunteer from the art school asked if romance was dead, Mara said, "Romance is showing up for the boring part," and the room laughed because people will always applaud an accurate slap. Thea looked at me like he wanted to offer a drink we could decline together. I looked back like I wanted to believe in boring on purpose. It was enough. We never told anyone about the driver. We didn't need to. We taped the receipt to the side of the fridge under the magnet shaped like a cramped little boat we bought on a better summer. When the house tries to audition for courtroom, we take the long way on purpose. We sit in the back and tell a stranger where we're trying to be brave. Sometimes she texts come and means stand next to me while I superintend gravity. Sometimes I text come and mean remind me I'm a body before I'm a schedule. Sometimes the neck votes, and we accept the results like adults. We didn't stop admiring other people's competence. We did stop confusing it with permission. Heat is a temperature, not a budget. We eat before we try to win. We sleep when the clock loses its manners. We touch in daylight as if the sun issues licenses. And when the city asks whether we have anything to add, we say, take the long way, please, and keep the meter running. We've decided to be interesting where the streetlights can see.